Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of the social media accounts. Also, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already and like the video. I'm not going to go into too many stocks because there's a lot of things going on this week. One being Russia. We'll have to see what happens with Russia. Also, tomorrow, Monday, we have on the economic calendar, we have FOMC member Bullard speaking at 11 a.m. and at 11:30 a.m. there is an emergency meeting with I posted it on my Twitter. So they have an emergency federal meeting at 11:30 on Monday. So I don't know what that's going to be about. Maybe they're going to do a surprise rate increase. I don't know. So be very cautious around 11 o'clock, between 11 and noon. That something could freak out the market, and just don't be holding calls at that particular time. So not unless for some reason they're going to cut rates more. I don't really know what's really gonna happen. I mean, inflation's going through the roof, so they're gonna have to do something to do that. But I was very surprised that they have an emergency meeting, so anything could happen at that. Just be aware that it's there and that it's something big could possibly happen. So with that said, SPY, it bounced up to the 20 EMA on the weekly, that rejected. So I mean, if we keep getting bad news and with Russia and stuff like that, we could end up seeing more lows. So I'll be watching it on both directions all week long. I mean, we could turn around. I mean, earnings is pretty much gone. All the big players have already had their earnings. There's some other ones, smaller players, but the big boys have already done their earnings. So we could end up dumping more underneath this 438 level, come back down to 434 and 430 and 425 area. So if more things happen with Russia or whatever the Fed meeting is on Monday, so definitely be watching that. Either way, then PayPal. I mean, PayPal is just getting annihilated. I mean, I thought it was going to bounce here, and it just keeps going. I mean, this at some point it's gonna end up rebounding and stuff like that. But the question is, I can't believe it was at 310 and it's like a third of the value right now, and that's just crazy. So I'll be watching PayPal for a rebound. Might even take a long-term spread on it and stuff like that. So we'll have to see. I mean, I just can't believe this happened on PayPal. It's crazy. So yeah, I would watch it over 120 for a push to 125, 130. Then you get gap resistance here at 140. So likely probably reject that area 140 from the earnings drop. So definitely watch PayPal. Roku. Keep watching Roku. Starting to curl on the weekly, and it pulled back a little bit. So I would watch it over, let's say you could watch it over 178, 180, but I'd like it over 170 for push to the 180 level. It gets over the 180 level right here, 175, 180 level. It's probably going to push to 200, 210. Then you get this 225 level right here. So Roku should have a strong bounce. It hasn't had earnings, so we'll have to see what happens with that. But did react to Disney's earnings. So I mean, every time you think that Roku's going to bounce here and here, it just doesn't. So maybe third time's a charm. So we'll watch Roku. Snap was one that had good earnings. And despite that the market's been going crazy, it hasn't really dumped. So it's been holding up really well. So I would watch it over. You could say 40 or 42 be the really good area. Over 42, and then you get basically every whole dollar. 43, 44, 45, 46, 50 be a big area psychologically. Then you get this other big area right here, the 52, and then you got resistance right here at 55, gap resistance at 60. So Good earnings, good guidance. It held up really well against SPY dumping with all the noise. So we'll have to see if that continues. Tesla is one I'll try to keep an eye on, depending on how expensive it is and how I feel about it. It went and chopped right underneath the 20 EMA, then it finally dumped right here. So if the market's weak, it's by Tesla's going to probably drop with it. So I'd watch it underneath 850 for a push down to the 800 area. So yeah, it chopped right here, then it dropped, then it's back down in this area again. So it could go to 800, even could go down to the 700 area on Tesla the weekly. So definitely keep an eye on that. But Tesla's Tesla. Every time you think it's down and out, it just rips on you. So definitely keep that on watch in both directions. Now Fedex, I was looking at. What I found interesting on Fedex was you got a massive head and shoulders on the weekly. You get the left, the head, the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder right here. So normally I would think, okay, it's probably going to bounce, but every time you see these big weekly patterns, they end up playing out eventually. So it doesn't mean it'll happen this week, but if the market takes a beating, it could end up taking a beating as well. I'm surprised that FedEx hasn't dropped more than what it has with SPY freaking out, but yeah, we'll watch it underneath 230. Like it's below 230, 220, actually 220. Well, let's say 225 right in here, and you get 220. Every $5 on FedEx. So I mean, it's got room down to the 170 area, 175. I don't know if I'll get that low, but every time you don't think it's going to get that low, it just ends up getting lower. But one thing to keep an eye on, it is underneath the 30 RSI on the daily, but it was over here too, right here. It started to show that it was below 30. And then it just dumped from 260 to 216. So, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. Microsoft is another one. If the market does manage to pop or anything, it does not like being underneath this 300 level. But it is right now. It closed underneath it. It's got room to go to 280, but that's only if the market's weak. If the market's not weak, I'm sure that Microsoft will probably bounce to 310 plus. So I watched over 300 for push to 305, 310, 315. That's where it's been holding up and rejecting that 315 level. But the market gets any strength behind it or anything that it's going to end up having a nice little pop to 320. Now, one of the things I was just thinking about right here, because the market's taking a beating, who knows? Maybe the Fed's going to say they're going to pump more liquidity into the market. I don't know. Buy more assets. I don't know. Because the market's been really weak and just been going down for the last couple months. So I've said that 2022 was going to be a bear market for the year, but I mean I could be wrong, but so far it's shaping up into that. So with that said, yeah, I mean I'm not going to go into too many things. You need to be in the room in the morning. Every morning before market opens, I look at the 10 stocks I follow, see what they look like, see what the gap down is, the gap up, and see how they're forming pre-market, and make my determination at the bell what I like. The gap ups and the gap downs have been so much lately. It's kind of hard to pick levels because they gap up way above it or way below it, and it kind of messes up the levels and stuff like that. That's why you need to be in the room. Otherwise, you're just going to miss it. So that's on you if you want to miss it or not. But so with that said, that's going to do it for the watch list. Nothing spectacular. It's going to be pretty much all news driven this week, and it's going to mess up a lot of the levels, but we'll adjust to it and hope to see you in the room. So thank you for watching.